It's beginning to look a lot like Christmas.
Oh, let's review.
We'll analyze the scene.
Sounds holly jolly to me.
Before it's over, let's begin.
Bum.
Bum.
That's right, folks. Since the Christmas season is upon us, we thought the way to celebrate and get into the holiday spirit would be with some holiday reviews.
12 to be exact, decoratively divided into 4 categories for your Yuletide pleasure.
So, without further ado, silver up those bells, light the multicolored lights, and go out and build a snowman. And join us as we get into some seasonal shenanigans.
Woo!
And tonight we're unwrapping. This is our first movie, right, Dragon?
Well, no, we started with I believe Christmas Chronicles. So.
Oh, right, man. We're
Oh
plowing
no,
through.
actually, wait. I'm thinking Grinch. Grinch, and we started with Grinch was our first
Grinch,
movie. And
yes,
Christmas
okay.
Chronicles we lumped in with TV
Well, you
because of
can excuse me
Netflix.
for forgetting about Grinch because that was pre-trip. That feels like a lifetime ago. All
Right.
right. So tonight we're unwrapping our second Christmas movie, Just Friends.
Yeah.
All right, Dragon. I'm just gonna Dragon. Oh man, I really wanted to like this movie. All right, I'm gonna start with that. I'm gonna start with that. Okay, like this has been on the back burner for a couple years. Of course, the reason why we're doing this, folks, is Once Upon a Deadpool came out. Ryan Reynolds. You know, we've always kind of had like, hey, Ryan Reynolds in a charming little Christmas romantic comedy. Why not? You know, it always kind of felt like a nice kind of like little like throwaway pick to kind of pad out the lineup. You know, nothing that was ever going to be a big headliner of the event or anything. Dragon, like I'm legitimately sick right now. All right, I don't even have the brain power to watch anything too complicated. All I wanted was a movie to just turn my brain off to and just kind of relax with. Man, I don't know this. I'll say I probably would have rather watched Daddy's Home 2 again than watch this. I'll say that much. I mean, freaking this really isn't doing much for me, man. I mean, Ryan Reynolds is charming and all that, but charming Reynolds can only get you so far, man. Specifically, specifically, I hate the ending of this movie. I hate it. I it's it yeah, everything wraps up so fast, Dragon. It's so inconceivable. That's not how relationships work. That's not how women work. It's not reality.
Real quick, did you say inconceivable as a Princess Bride reference?
Yes, yes,
I'm
yes.
proud of you for that one. That's a good one.
Well, hey, man, I am a massive Well John fan.
Inconceivable.
All right, yeah, Dragon. Like I said, it's not that I walked into this with a bad attitude. You know, I didn't. I had a good attitude going into this, but I don't know, man. It really didn't do it for me. The laughs were few and far between. Honestly, my favorite moments are literally the only moments that got a chuckle out of me, if I'm being completely honest. So, yeah, I laughed about 3 times watching this. To say it, man, I really wanted to like this. I really wanted this to be like a nice kind of like, it's not Yates, but it's a nice, pleasant little Christmas filler movie. And I'm sorry, man. I really am. I feel bad. I really wanted this to be more enjoyable than it was for me.
Boy, oh boy. Well, I tell you, forgive me if I'm laughing so much, folks. It's just I had I had a feeling he really wasn't going to like this, and he was coming in all peppy and saying, "Okay, maybe he will like this," and of course, it's just like, nope, it's just completely wrong. Because again, here's the thing. So let me tell you a little story here, folks. A little mini story to explain my history, why I
I do
picked
want to know
just.
your thoughts about Once Upon a Deadpool, by the way. So
Sure,
just
sure. Like, do we get into that here, or should we just save it for like some
no,
other
no.
time?
Do your thesis, and then between thesis and backstory, do Once Upon a Deadpool.
All right, okay. Anyway, so Just Friends. Let me tell you the sort of it does involve Deadpool, so it's befitting, I guess. Anyway, so Just Friends. So the way I found Just Friends was there was go back a few years, let's say say 10 or so. Uh, X-Men Origins Wolverine comes out, and I'm bated breath. I had become a Deadpool fan around like a year before that movie came out, and everyone's wondering, oh my god, Deadpool's going to be in an X-Men movie. How cool! And he's played by Ryan Reynolds. That's good casting. Hooray! And we see that movie, and of course, it's very unfaithful to who that character is. Everyone, including Ryan Reynolds, agrees with that. Anyway, so that movie comes out, and Ryan Reynolds has said many a time that while he was doing that movie, he wasn't in the dark making that movie. Like he knew, he had read the comics, he had known who that character is, and he had said to like the Fox executives and everything, guys, we got to change what we're doing here, otherwise Deadpool fans are gonna be very unhappy with this representation of this character. And they said, okay, look, just do what we're saying now, and we'll do a Deadpool spin-off movie. And of course, when that movie comes out, when X-Men Origins comes out, he's doing the press junk and the press interviews and everything. He's basically saying, he's hinting at, yeah, we'll be doing a Deadpool movie. I don't know when, but we're in development right now. Of course, it takes roughly 10 years to get that, 10 to 11 years to get that done, but eventually it gets done. And the reason I bring all of that up is because that's where I became introduced to Just Friends, because there's a period of time where everyone's just kind of piecing and pacheting together clips from various Ryan Reynolds movies as to what a Deadpool performance from him might look like. Because there are all these sorts of clips and compilations you can't find now because now we have Deadpool and they're everywhere. But for a time, when you were like the clamoring Deadpool fan, you would look for these compilations, see, oh, he'd be perfect for it, and this is what they should have done. Just get him some scar makeup and a mask. He'd be there. He's almost there. And the three movies that kind of felt most true, like, yeah, this is a perfect example of him as kind of a Wade Wilson type character, was Blade Trinity, which essentially was his audition in movie form for Deadpool. That's what got him the role. That's what introduced him to the character. There was this, and there was The Proposal, which oddly enough gets Josh Brolin involved in Deadpool 2, oddly enough. So, I mean, many clips specifically with he and his brother, he and Chris Marquette kind of fighting throughout the movie really showcase like kind of some Deadpool dynamics and some stuff from the comics. It looked very much like, yeah, that's very consistent with kind of how he would act in kind of a Deadpool setting. And anyway, so I'm looking through these clips and I kind of hit Just Friends as I'm looking into the various movies that are involved in these clip shows. And I look into Just Friends and I watch it. And I tell you, looking back on it now, again, for years, like I checked it, I was like, oh yeah, okay, this is kind of cutesy and funny, and I didn't know Just Friends had somewhat of a following to it. It's kind of a, I don't know if cult favorites necessarily the right word. It doesn't feel like it, but it's like it doesn't make any sense. It feels like a VH1 favorite. It feels like something that would come on like a VH1 type network.
I could see that. That's a good analogy for it. Yeah.
It feels like kind of like an MTV or like a VH1 type like thing that would come on and be rerun on. So it feels familiar and
just like a nice staple of cable television.
That's what I'm saying. It feels like a nice, yeah, exactly. It feels like a staple of something familiar and that like very vaguely culty. If that makes any sense. Vaguely culty. So I mean, people know the movie, and again, it was like in that Ryan Reynolds romantic comedy phase, where again, Ryan Reynolds, this is him in the beginning of his career, kind of getting his name out there and getting the Ryan. Again, it was really the guy from Van Wilder. That was Ryan Reynolds for many years. It was Van Wilder, definitely, maybe, and a bit of Just Friends. I mean, that was kind of that's what he was known for until things really blew up for him in a good way. And looking back on the movie, again, I was wondering years, again, it's been a while since I watched, the last time I really watched this was before Deadpool came out. And so I've come back to it for this. And I was like, oh, wow, it's not great. It's not great. It's not for everyone. But at the end of the day, it's Ryan Reynolds kind of earning his name in those early years. So again, you're right, Tiki. There is that Reynolds charm that is in the movie, and it keeps you coming back to an extent. But there's still a lot. Now I see there's a lot wrong with it. But then I was so enamored by the Ryan Reynolds of it. I was just kind of I think I was giving it a pass for a lot of the other stuff. I don't think I was alone. I think we all were. I think that feeds into that kind of that VH1 charm. Like, it was on. You watch the Ryan Reynolds parts, and he's in like a large majority of the movie. Therefore, everything else you're kind of blinded by. But if you really look at it with a fine-tooth comb, you're going to notice there's some things wrong with this movie, especially today.
God.
Trippy, right?
I'm glad we're not too different on our approach to this thing.
That's the thing. Rewatching this and getting ready for this, I warned, and that's why I was laughing so much because I warned Tika that again, this would be kind of like a dicey one to tackle if we do, and we were kind of sorting of like how naughty should we go with our selections this year, how like kind of dicey should we go, and we kind of landed on Just Friends for the Once Upon a Deadpool of it all. And speaking of which, I guess you would like to know how Once Upon a Deadpool was.
I honestly, Dragon, I haven't heard great things.
Well, I'll tell you, Tiki. All the all the kind of all the Princess Bride isms, all the Fred Savage stuff, the Deadpool Fred Savage stuff, that lived to my expectations. That was perfect. That's the fun stuff.
So I've heard, yeah.
So all of that was great, and again, they did it. They did everything I wanted them to do in regards to those scenes. And there is cleverness in what they do in the movie because there's a lot of censorship, a lot of gags about censorship, and basically what people have been saying, and I'll just tell you now, it's basically the edited for TV version of Deadpool on the screen, and a bit of that is clever. However, the problem, and here's the problem for me, which is what I would say, I think everyone's problem is, but they're just not quite voicing it this way, is that they could have gone farther with how they broke the fourth wall. Going into the movie, I was hoping that they used Fred Savage in the perfect way I wanted to do, where he was basically any criticism lobbed against Deadpool 2 was addressed via the Fred Savage portions, and it was hilarious, and I loved those parts. And I just wish they would kind of like at least have one gag where they acknowledge the whole kind of edited for TV censorship in the movie, but they don't really do that, which makes it feel like it's a little bit lacking. And that's kind of the consent. That's where you're hearing the dissatisfied nature of people coming to watch the movie. But again, bear in mind, and again, I'm not saying this helps. And again, they're very self-referential in the marketing and even in bits of the movie that they know it's kind of a cop-out, but it's basically it's a cash grab, and they're kind of trying to test their waters for China and a little bit of like, can Deadpool be in the MCU? It doesn't feel like they're really
right.
It doesn't feel like they're giving a full-hearted attempt at the latter. It's like testing it out for the
the MCU.
I
mean, from what I've heard, it's like it would have been better if they would have made more of an attempt at editing. Instead of just kind of like slapping a censored version of Deadpool 2 up there, like, if they would have made more of an attempt to like maybe tie the Fred Savage stuff together with the rest of the movie.
Yeah, but that's the thing. And again, like all the Fred Savage stuff is like Deadpool as all the Fred Savage stuff is Deadpool in a PG-13 setting, which shows great potential for like Deadpool being integrated into other venues, which again seems like, okay, if they do what they do with that Fred Savage stuff, I think Deadpool's going to be in good shape wherever he goes. But again, when they basically play the movie, that's when things are like, it's okay, but it's look, I don't want to bog this whole thing down by talking about all the various differences and such, because I could, but the point is they did some weird editing things even in the made for TV version, because they were blending two versions of a movie and then a third version that is censored. It's not terrible. It's just inferior to the R-rated cut, and I don't think it played as they had hoped. But again, all the new stuff is great, and there's a really heartwarming post-credit scene I'll tell you about right here. But yeah, I mean, it is for charity they're doing like a charity thing. Every ticket is $1 towards the Fudge Cancer charity, Fudge for the Christmas Story reference, if you will, But it was for a good cause, and it was fun. Again, all the Fred Savage was worth kind of going to the movie for. And if you're going to do anything, like if you can afford to see another movie around the holidays, I'd say, but only if you can do another one.
It's only one night only, though, right?
No, it's from the 11th to the 24th. It ends on Christmas Eve.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
All right, anyway, and I assume it's going to be out on DVD, and I'd imagine they might try to do the proceeds thing for that as well, but I don't know. We'll see.
I'm saying, like, maybe next year we could do the Fred Savage intervals. Would that be possible?
Well, I'd be down for that, sure. I mean, something, maybe, like, briefly discuss basically we cover the censorship portion of it, but we don't have to go through the whole movie, obviously. But, you know what I mean? But, yes, we'll work something out. I'm down for that, but we'll see, sure.
All right.
Anyway.
Okay, so hit us with the mind-blowing plot of this movie, Dragon.
Well, no, the background. There's a really good background for this.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you already went through the background in your thesis. Go ahead.
Well, I went through my background, but here's the
background. Got it. Yeah, my bad.
So here's the thing. So the premise of the movie is starting from a very true to life experience that many people have experienced. The friend zone. The friend zone is a thing that it's not a myth, folks. The friend zone does exist. Some people have different names.
Oh, it's very, very real.
Friend zone, it's like it's like that section in space you just kind of float in. It's like kind of that Bermuda Triangle area of space called the friend zone. It's like it's right next to the Twilight. It's between the Twilight Zone and the Bermuda Triangle. It's called the friend zone. Anyway, in all seriousness, of course, like the friend zone's a universal kind of idea. Almost every man, if not every man, has kind of has experienced or heard of, or at least like heard the horror stories of. And the three men involved in the production, who are really heading the production, have experienced it universally. It's Chris Bender, who, yes, you're right, sounds a lot like another character in this movie. You see where they're kind of connecting dots here. You have Chris Bender, the producer. You have Adam Tex Davis, who's the writer. And you have Richard Brender, who is the producer. And all three, basically all the stuff that Ryan Reynolds, as his character, goes through in the movie are a pache of these three men's experiences in the friend zone. Like all the tortures and all the stuff, and especially the background history, like all the friend zone-y stuff is taken from the three men's experience. So this, I get a sense, is like one of those movies that's been kind of lingering for a while. They came up with it in '98, so it's been floating around since '98. I believe Adam Tex Davis basically transcribed. He wrote it down back then when he was going through it, like that was coming out like a bad experience in the friend zone. Wrote it down, just kind of lingered a while, and he kind of presented it to to the producers and such. And they shot this primarily in Canada. It's in Moose between Moose Jaw, New Jersey, I think, and mainly Regina, which rhymes with fun. A little Deadpool reference there for the kiddies, for the PG-13 kiddies. And while they're shooting this, and you can kind of tell if you really look, they kind of shot, for conveniency, you shoot in Canada a lot of the time, but unlucky for them, they shot during the coldest winter ever. So like
I could kind of tell it looked very cold. Yeah.
When you see, and they tried to like hype that up. If you tell in the beginning, Act 1, they have like all these little clues of like, oh boy, it's really cold in New Jersey. All of a sudden, it's like really, really cold in New Jersey.
right.
So like when Ryan Reynolds when he blops the paper against his face on the plane, you notice the newspaper it's like spelling it out to the camera of like it's cold. The weather is reported cold in New Jersey. So they had to address that in the movie. It was like 50. I kid you not, it was like -50 below.
Oh my god! Oh, I couldn't imagine.
And like you've seen those scenes of Ryan Reynolds, like he's like dragging her to the car, and he's just wearing a shirt, not even a jacket. So you got to imagine, like, and that's him. Thankfully, that's Canadian blood in that guy right there, helping him through
that. Right.
All right, so let's see. So the film, so here, okay, this is the part you're going to be interested in, Tiki. Again, I don't know if it's going to save the movie for you, but I think you really you should know this. So the film was at a point entirely cynical. Until the end. Basically, it was entirely cynical until the end when something happened in real life that changed how the movie was going to end. So originally it was going to be, okay, Chris Brender, he basically everything happened.
Honestly, Dragon, I would have respected this movie a hell of a lot more if they would have just stuck to Landy with the friend zone thing and kept it that way.
That's the thing. So you're right on the money, Tiki. So originally that was the plot of the movie. It was going to be Act 1, Act 2 are the same, and then Act 3 was just going to be he gets basically the scene at the bar. Most likely, I'm extrapolating a little bit here. I imagine the scene at the bar would have been the ending of the movie, and he would have gone home, gone back to L.A. And that would have been all sure. It wouldn't like maybe end like a snarky line, like maybe him like F-bomb on the plane or something, like F the friend zone or something along those lines. It most likely would have ended in a very cynical, true to life and many experiences.
And then someone got back together with a fucking friend zone.
Not just many people did. In fact, again, there was like a phenomenon. This just kind of happened. It happened to at least 2 people on the movie, and they heard like other friends who had the same thing happen to them. They met up with the girl. There's the thing. It wasn't just like one isolated thing. It was just a phenomenon that kept happening. They realized, oh my god, we're in this.
I still don't care.
All right, I'm
sorry. Look, even if that's true, the way that they write it in the movie just doesn't excuse it for me.
All right. Okay. Well, I'm just giving you complete information on it. So that's what happened.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I still don't care.
It happened to people in real life, and they got married, or they're in relationships, and it happened. Basically, it caused a 180-degree change in the third act, and that gave them the ending that they have now. Love it or leave it. That's what happened, and that's the plot. Right. That's the background.
Okay. And what's the uber sophisticated plot of this movie, Dragon?
Here's the plot, folks. Buckle up.
Man, I'm yearning for the fucking days of the Christmas Chronicles when we actually have like more than a sentence worth of plot.
All right, so I'm going to do my best here to make it jazz it up. Okay, so in 1995,
Christmas Chronicles, you could write at least 3 sentences about that plot, Go ahead.
Okay,
I'm
so in
sorry.
1995, a good year by the way, Chris Brander works up the nerve to tell Jamie Palomino how he feels about her. This intimate plan is ruined by a big party where he is humiliated and friend zoned in a big, fundamentally traumatizing way. 10 years later, Chris is a thin Ryan Reynolds esque ladies' man in the music industry, tasked with a singing ex crazy girlfriend by the name of Samantha Jane, played by Anna Faris. They're on a flight to Paris just on a whim because they're in the music industry, crazy people there. They're on a flight, and the flight is down conveniently back in New Jersey, where Chris hails from. And he returns home. And as Chris returns home, he gets a devious idea to one night stand his age old friend and long time, his hopeful girlfriend, Jamie Palomino. This fails this fails miserably. This plan fails miserably, and many merry misadventures and spinning crazy plates later, including including former lame duck, as it were, turned guitar playing paramedic Dusty Dinkelman. Chris realizes in the end he still loves her. He still loves Jamie Palomino, and wants to save her from another wants to save her from another bad boyfriend before ultimately getting the girl of his dreams in the end. That's the movie.
All right, now, goddamn, we have to talk about the characters, don't we?
Yes, we're starting off with, I guess, the most kind of the funnest of them all. We're starting with.
Why are you building me up for enthusiasm, man? I have.
Okay, we're
starting with fucking Chris.
Okay, starting with Chris Brander. Okay.
All right. I mean, oh man, he's Ryan Reynolds.
Really, that's all you got?
That's all I got, man. Like, I appreciate, the backstory and the fat. I like the fat suit. We'll talk about the fat suit later, but at the end of the day, man, his character is just baseline Ryan Reynolds.
Or just to dig a smidge deeper than that. Just a smidge.
I'm warning you, I don't have much for any of these people, all right?
All right. Okay, so Chris, we start from a sympathetic place in the movies. He's a fat kid in love, essentially. Starts from a very sympathetic place. He goes from New Jersey to LA after his traumatizing experience. He sees, LA. I think we see that LA changes a man. I think that's kind of the commentary on Chris Brander there, where he kind of starts off as the humble guy from New Jersey, kind of your love, almost like in kind of the vein of a lovable Kevin Smith, this kind of lovable loser of it all, just without the rapacious wit that he will later gain. And then you take him to LA, and we see how LA changes a man, where Chris becomes this snarky, womanizing, unrecognizable all around, in both the.
All right, you know what? I'm just gonna lay it down here. Like, Chris is just unlikable throughout most, if not all, of the runtime of this fucking movie. He really is.
Well, they're definitely contending with that, yes, and I feel they humble him a lot in this movie. They humble him a lot, and they have to humble him a lot because he could come across very unlikable at the start, yes, and he does.
Well, I mean, yeah, he's unlikable at the start, and then the whole premise is basically a how to lose a guy in 10 days sort of like, it's just based on a one night stand. Like, honestly, Dragon, if he was really interested in getting back together with her from the start, maybe I could have bought it a little more. But the fact that it's a one night stand that he's after just makes it kind of gross to me. I don't know.
Well, remember, that's the thing I like in the storytelling here. I like that we start him from we don't start with him as he is now. We see him in the sympathetic place, so we kind of see where all of that came from. We see what kind of we see the traumatizing experience. So you kind of get it, and whether you agree with it or not, that's another matter entirely. But still, you kind of get it.
Mm-hmm.
And then again, he does reach a point where again he could achieve his goal, and he realizes that he actually has feelings for him, and he just at his core, of course, he can't use the girl that he truly has has feelings for. He can't do it to her. So I feel like
it's that point in the movie that he finally starts becoming likable, but I don't know. To me, it's kind of too little, too late at that point, honestly.
And again, like he's humbled for trying to do the wrong thing throughout the movie, which kind of balances out in a way. I mean, again, he's humbled for trying to do the wrong thing at various points of that. Before that, though,
Uh-huh.
more on that. Let's put a pin in that one. So I think the holiday gives Chris kind of a second chance. Again, after multiple humblings, as said. And again, basically, in the end, what they're kind of saying is, being kind of honest and direct versus the manipulating kind of. Again, he's been trying to manipulate her at the start of the movie, which was wrong, and he's been manipulating and handling people, which again is kind of that LA mentality, kind of LA at its worst mentality, I suppose. And again, just being kind of the old Chris, the honest and direct one. He kind of kind of powers on through kind of what's been getting in his way the whole time, in a sense. Nice. And again, basically on the whole, just the Ryan Reynolds of all. It basically is an example of Ryan Reynolds as the wise guy in the room, and mocking himself and having a good time. Again, you have the charm kind of coming through in a lot of this.
Yeah, it looked like he had a really fun time in that fat suit, so more power to him.
Yeah. All right.
All right.
Let's talk about probably one of the diciest characters in the movie. Let's talk about Jamie.
Really, I don't know. I thought she was kind of baseline to me. Like, she was just kind of like a nice, pleasant girl, in the immortal words of Norm. She would be like a perfect Norman Bates nice girl, you know what I
No, here's
mean?
the thing. I like her. I think she's a nice girl. I will say I did find some faults in her rewatching the movies. Like, yeah, man, I did not see that.
Okay, I'm curious. I'm curious.
Jamie, here's the thing. I think the best way of putting it up front is that, as you said, Tegan, nice girl is the perfect choice of words. You beautiful, nice girl, not very bright, but a good soul. That's the way I'd kind of phrase
She's a
Jamie.
fucking genius compared to the other one, though.
Well, sure, but again, that's really intentional compared to the other girl. But yeah, that's the thing. I think here's the thing with Jamie. So Jamie, I mean, at the end of the day, I do like her, and even rewatching, like, she's still likable, and I still like. And Amy Smart doing a really good job there. But however, she toes a line of I emphasize she toes a line here. She toes a line of obliviousness, but she's not a tease. Like, she's not a prize, and I think that's the important thing they try to make a point of. Where again, she's like, she's saying, like, her just saying no in contrast to what our guys want here does not make her a bad person, and importantly, they kind of stress that. But at times, though, she's just not getting it. She's just not getting that. Okay, this person you've known for many years, you're just not getting that.
I think all the interactions with Dusty kind of speak for themselves in that way.
Exactly, but again, there's also
She invites Dusty to go to the movie, for example.
and that's what I'm talking about. That's the obliviousness there, where again, there's a degree of that kind of hinders that character. That's kind of the thing this character is battling. Where Chris is battling likability in the movie, she's battling oblivion. Like, again, she's the kindly school teacher who represents Chris Brander's past, and that's all nice and good. And again, I guess what she represents in the broader sense. And again, I think it's the dicey thing where again, I feel it might be dicey looking at her kind of critically years later, but I think she represents the blind spot that many women have to good guys and friends. Again, the representation of the friend zone. It's like women don't like simple; they want complicated. It's the sort of thing where again, as Chris says, she's gone out with so many bad guys throughout the years, and she's had to sit by and watch that happen. And you look at that; it's a true to life thing. Women do many a time. I'm not saying every woman, but I'm saying many women have bad taste in men. It happens, and they kind of capture that a little broadly, but they capture that. All right.
All right. Oh boy, so Samantha. Oh boy.
All right. Well, I think just starting broadly here, I think Anna Faris, she's playing the
I love Anna Faris, man. I really do. And she is one of kind of the bright spots of the movie, if I'm being honest with you.
Yeah. Anna Faris, again, here's the thing I think Anna Faris is doing really good. She knows exactly what she's playing, and she knows how to play it. She's playing the crazy girl you're stuck with, and she knows exactly. It's like a Saturday Night Live performance in a way. Like, she knows exactly what she's doing. She knows exactly what beats it. So I think she's playing this character excellently, but it's a question if you, the audience, can tolerate the characters. Again, I don't think she's doing a great job as this character. She's like doing what she's doing. But again, like, for me, I love that she's playing a character that Chris, as well as the audience, I feel has no patience for. And I just love that Chris Pratt can treat her as horribly as he wants, and like a manipulator, and no one's gonna.
You know what? You might disagree with this, but to me, it almost kind of reminds me of the same sort of cringe humor that that John Lithgow's character had in Daddy's Home.
To an extent.
certainly different characters, but I feel like there's a similar level of cringe going on with both of them.
I think I get what you're saying. Are you also saying that it's kind of like there's some quality where that character kind of grows on you as well? Are you saying
Well,
that?
yeah, for sure.
I get you. I agree with you full heartedly on that one. There is an element of cringe, but again, I think there's that sort of like there's something right about what's happening here. It's like, yeah, there's something that's working with what we're doing here, but there is a large element of cringe that might not work for everybody.
Uh,
Uh, I like that she conveys a good lesson later on. In the Anna Faris has this really great line in the movie, by the way. She has this really great kind of fourth wall breaking line. She says, "Ooh, big speech." I want to highlight that real quick, but Anna Faris, so Samantha conveys this lesson that you can't force or control love, which again is a good message. It kind of gets spelled out through the dumbest character in the movie, and again, if she's telling you this, then you know it's true.
uh,
Yeah, and again, I think on the whole, she's just what this Samantha Garrett is. She just represents kind of L.A. and Hollywood at its worst way. It's like, what if like a Kardashian crossbred with a Bieber? You get Samantha James. It's pretty much what
oh God.
what you get there. It's just like this unholy. It's kind of this unholy thing. But yeah, you've seen celebrity types like her in the media, so you've seen somebody. I think there are better examples in the whole Kardashian Bieber mixture, but I couldn't think of it. I just kind of came up with the worst thing I could think of. But there's like some sort of you've seen these sort of horror stories. It's like maybe like a vaguely like the old school Lindsay Lohan when she really lost her crap for a while. It's like something like
Right,
that.
right, yeah, yeah.
It's pretty much that. And again, I think interestingly through a couple characters, through Samantha and through our next character, I think you have a reflection of who Chris is. Chris here is like Samantha is representative of Chris is distracting the LA version of himself via Samantha. He's basically distracting her throughout the movie. In a way, he doesn't know it yet, but he's trying to downplay the side of himself that has kind of transformed the lovable fat kid into kind of the snide Ryan Reynolds type. He's just trying to he's kind of pushing her away, which in a way, through the grand course of the movie, is pushing away the unlikable portion of his character.
Mm.
Kind of interesting. All right. Okay, let's talk about Dinkelman.
Yeah, he might be my favorite character in the movie, if I'm being honest.
Played by a good actor, Chris Klein. Do you ever see Election?
No, Chris Klein, I do know Chris Klein.
Yeah, I know him from in Election. He was for anyone who's curious. Election, he plays the nicest character in the Election movie. He plays like the Paul Rudd. He plays a Paul Rudd-esque character who's like this poor he's a jock who broke his leg and basically he kind of gets forced in the running for class president against Reese Witherspoon. And he's like a lovable guy, just really caught between.
That sounds delightful, actually.
Yeah, and like Matthew Broderick, he's basically kind of at war with Reese Witherspoon throughout the movie. It's like this really, it's kind of it's a dark comedy too. It's a dark comedy, but it's I don't know. But yeah, he's quite delightful.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I'm sorry. Yeah, so back to this. So yeah, so what do you like about him specifically?
I like that Dusty kind of represents again kind of going off of the shades of the main character thing, like that he represents sort of like how we could grow into to another person, but maybe for the worst and not the better.
Yes.
I also like how fake this guy is. He's just like unapologetically fake.
Yeah, it's basically basically Chris's rival then and now. Even back then, when he was still the guy interrupting in the room playing the guitar, when he was still kind of in his pre-Dusty Dinkelman phase, in the old when he also was kind of like Chris, kind of the outcast, I suppose. And I love that it's kind of Chris. The rivalry gets reignited when he comes back into play, but now it's Chris. Again, they were on an even playing field then, and they're on an even playing field now, where Chris is confronting.
Yeah, right.
That's the great thing, and I think this kind of helps in the likability department for Chris in the grand scheme. Is that Chris is confronting who he's become at every turn. So it's like, well, this is what you've become, and this is what you're contending up. This is what you're going up against now. So, and you like it, love it, or leave it. Are you going to be this guy? If you're going to be this guy, look in the mirror, pal. It's kind of what he's doing with Dusty Dinkelman, and it's infuriating. I in a way that's compelling for the movie, and I like that Dusty is Chris Klein. He found a way to play a guy you kind of want to punch in the face, but society frowns on punching out kind of the smiley guitar
He's
playing
almost like a
paramedic.
more likable Gaston. You know what I mean? He's like a
Yeah,
not Gaston.
he's like the Gaston who's just like if Gaston were like a kind of a young politician, you kind of have Dusty Dingle. That's
Right, right.
because that's the thing. He's this. That's the thing. Like the society frowns on punching the bad guy in the face because he's all smiling. He's a paramedic. You don't want to punch a nice paramedic in the face. You don't want to do that. And he's just this scumbag who. And I just love. There's like a moment with Dusty Tiki that just signifies everything wrong with this guy. If you needed one scene to signify everything wrong with Dusty, is that. But what's so scummy about this guy at his core is that he's the guy who's all smiles and everything, but he's the guy who writes the same sexual song for every girl. Insert the girl's name here. That's a scummy move. It's like you. It's like that. It's like that. It's scummy, but not. It's not like disgusting. But it's like, oh man, that's just not right. That's mean. And he took the man's juice. Quoting a line from the movie. But anyway. All
right.
So
Mike. We love Mike.
Wrong Mike, Tiki. No, but I do.
Okay, we find Mike okay, in my opinion.
Yes, but seriously,
I have no strong feelings about Mike either way.
Yeah, but you're a Chris Marquette fan, aren't you?
Who? I mean, I know that's the actor who plays Mike, but like, what else has he been in?
Well, I mean, I'm trying. Well, he was in Barry. Remember, he's the ex-Marine friend. He's the ex-Army friend in Barry.
Wait. Taylor?
No, not Taylor. The other guy, the guy at the family.
Oh, right. I was gonna say, man, he put on some muscle.
No, but yeah, he's the other guy, and he was.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about. Yeah,
many people recognize him from Fanboys. He's the sick friend in Fanboys. He's the one who kind of jumpstarts the whole adventure, and he's nice in that movie.
No, Dragon, I can't say I'm necessarily a fan of this guy. I mean, I'm sure he's a good actor.
I mean, there's other things, but I could have sworn I thought you liked Chris Marquette and something else that I just can't think of.
No, you're mistaken. I mean, like I said, I'm not saying he's like a. I'm not saying I dislike him. I wouldn't say like, oh yeah, that Chris Marquette man, he really.
All right, that's fair. Anyway, Marquette here, I thought he was kind of has a fun dynamic with Ryan Reynolds, and again, this is the main thing. The reason I checked out the whole movie when I first kind of came across clips of it, Tiki. It's the basically the dynamic to me, the dynamic he has with Mike is very much like Weasel and Deadpool from the comics. It felt so much like that because Deadpool will constantly abuse Weasel, like he'll do something horrible to him. Like they would bicker and like kind of like Deadpool, like he shot him for a snack food once, like for eating the last cheese puff. Deadpool like shot him through the leg or he stabbed him through the leg or something. That's their dynamic. And you kind of had something here where it's just like they're always just fighting and so immaturely, and it's over the stupidest dumb. Again, that brotherly dynamic. So it was kind of like it always kind of appealed to me a bit.
Yeah, that was fun. I guess I don't know. I think you enjoyed that part of it better than I did.
I do, and
I don't really have the nostalgic like Deadpool connection to it either. So.
Yeah, sure, but even just looking at it for looking beyond that, I do like that he's kind of like there's a really kind of sweet line he has to him where it's kind of sweep it in that brotherly way where he's saying you'll always be fat to me, where it's just it communicates a brotherly thing of like for years I don't care how much you've changed, you're still my brother, but again they're saying it through the venue, just like being mean to each other. It's kind of as he's the incompetent sidekick who annoys our main guy. And they're very childish and it's just it's silly. They're very silly together, especially Mike.
All right. Okay, so what?
No, so go on. Let's move on.
Clark and Darla.
Yeah, Clark and Darla. Just the helpful pals 10 years later. Has the dental.
I know who Clark is. I don't really have much to say about him. I don't even fucking remember Darla. I'm being honest with you. I got nothing. Like Clark, it's like, yeah, he's kind of the best friend who's egging on the one night stand thing. I don't like him. And Darla, who?
The wife, the wife of Clark, the
one. Oh, okay, right. Gotcha.
All right.
Yeah, I really don't, man. I'm sorry. I'm really.
All right, let's move on from that one.
Really, you can say something if you want, man. I'm not trying to get in your way of it. I'm just saying I don't have anything to say. So, say your piece on it if you want, by all means.
Well, no, I pretty much said, again, he's just a helpful friend. Like, he was like, again, he wasn't specifically rooting for the one night stand, but he was he wanted, again, he was rooting for him back then. He was going to tell her how he felt, and he's just kind of rooting for the relationship in some way, shape, or form. And then he's just like chastising him later. But, I like the kind of gives a lot as kind of the anchor to the kind of the New Jersey life of like, he's a Dinkelman, he's Jersey, he skis in his jeans.
Okay, fine, fair enough. I do like the Dinkelman running gag. I'll give him that much.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. Like later, I was just calling out, like, "Why you gotta be so dramatic?" You basically drives into like this giant snowbank. I'm sorry, I don't know. It's kind of does all this for him, and he calls him out like, "Oh yeah, hey, thanks for doing all this for me. I'll see you in another 10 years." He's just kind of the poor put upon friend. I guess that's about it. And Darla, she's there. Okay, so
she's there pretty much.
He is, Let's talk about Carol. Let's talk about Carol.
Yeah, Carol, very she kind of reminds me of like a more palatable version of Kitty from that '70s show a little bit.
Yeah, it's Julie Haggerty. Julie Haggerty, many people recognize from Airplane. She's I think she's they cast her because everybody, a lot of favoritism towards Airplane. She's very funny, and I thought she was really nice in the movie, just very sweet and loving. Well, in a good way. I mean, I love that she's supportive of her sons no matter what. That's the thing. Like she just saying, we have this. If you really notice, I never caught this until a rewatch. That Ryan Reynolds, like the way he conveys this, the utter love and respect for his mother throughout the movie, where he's just like he just keeps saying "mommy" every time in the scene. He's just
I did notice that, yeah.
Which is adorable. That's the thing. Like you can't say a bad word about her because she's so nice. Like like the whole "be yourself" gag is Julie Haggerty like knowing again like how to play a sweet kind of daft character. She keeps calling the wrong number. It's I don't know. It's just she's nice. That's about it. She's it's like she's not all there, but you love her for it. That's kind of the best I can say.
Like I said, a kind of more palatable Kitty in my mind.
Yeah, there we go.
All right. Just needs Kirkwood Smith.
Yep. All right, holiday nice.
Okay. Yeah, in terms of naughty, I don't know. I feel like the main character is maybe a little too scuzzy. I get that he goes on an arc, but they really start him out in an unlikable place. Draggy, can we just take a moment to dissect this ending?
Well, if you want to go there, sure. Let's dissect the ending.
All right, I really hate the ending, man. I really do. It's like, to me, I feel like if the movie would have just ended with him saying, like, all right, I want to take you out on a date, a real date. That's fine, Dragon. That's fine. That's how it should have ended. It's when he went all creepo territory. It's like, and I love you, and I want to marry you, and I want to have your babies. It's like, okay, all right. That's a little too forward, and I feel like any woman worth a salt on this fucking planet would think that's a little too forward. And frankly, it's just Hollywood bullshit that she's like won over by that, and I kind of hate it, and it honestly sort of pisses me off.
I really think it's something to get really angry over.
They overplayed their hand, Dragon. They overplayed their hand. If you would have just got the date and we would have gone from there, that's fine. That's completely fine. But at the 11th hour, it's like, I love you and I want to have your kids and I want to marry you. It's like, to me, it's very obvious that this ending was kind of written in at the 11th hour. It really is, because it's like you time it out. It's like a minute-long conversation that resolves the entire plot of the movie.
Well,
like, very rushed for me.
Well, you're not wrong. It does go by really quick, and that doesn't fix anything. But they were doing like a longer version of it that they cut down, I guess, for time. And again, it definitely comes across as rushed. Yes. Now, you're right. The date thing would have been, I think, that would have been the smarter way to end. However, I'm not bothered. I'm not necessarily bothered by the whole marriage. Like basically the whole.
Well, gee, honestly, not to sound bitter, but maybe hate to bring it up on air, but maybe, fucking the next time you tell a girl that you love her and that's what ends the entire relationship, you'll feel the same way.
All right, all right. Anyway, well, look, what I'm getting at is, essentially he's going for broke, and they're going optimistic. And again, they're probably feeling the roots from like the real life stories, and I'm like even taking that out of the equation, seeing what we had before us. I don't know. He's going for broke, and again, this girl knows him. Like, and basically, I'm sorry. Let me rephrase that. I say he keeps going for broke because if it's not going to work out with this girl, he's just going to move on because just like he put everything into this relationship.
Because he's fucking Ryan Reynolds and he can, unlike me. Can you tell I'm personally bitter about this?
Yeah, which I think is kind of deflating some argument points there. But let's just say it's like I'm not bothered by the ending, but I can see where some could be. All right.
All right.
Anyway, so getting off the ending. Let's see. So let's see. So,
I hate to say it, but I feel like a lot of this movie is just kind of blasé. And like it's not offensive, but it's not really overly funny either. It's just kind of like it just kind of humbly exists.
I feel there are a lot of cringy bits sprinkled throughout, and I'm having trouble because sometimes, again, they're some of them are intentional because they gotta humble him, but it feels like they're overplaying their hand in how they're humbling him. Like, does he have to drool in the one scene? Do we have to go that pathetic with
Right,
it?
right.
Like that's the thing. Where the
toothpaste gag with Samantha was a little much.
That was funny though. Come on, that's now
I don't know. That was a little too gross out for my taste, honestly.
Now, look, I don't know if it's me
I thought the
because
setup of that gag was funny, but I thought the overall, like, the visual of her spitting out that whole wad of toothpaste, I didn't need to see that.
okay, two things. One, subjectivity. Two,
Fair enough. Fair enough.
to address my own subjectivity on it, I've watched the bloopers for this movie, and they so much hilarious stuff they've done with that toothpaste gag. I keep thinking of them breaking. So that maybe that's clouded my judgment on the toothpaste gag.
All right, all right.
That,
I can
but still, I
respect
think
that.
subjectivity all around, though. Because I think it's funny. Anyway, but here's the thing: kills me about it. She says, "I'm a bubble." That's the thing that makes it, that's the just her saying that with that. Anyways, let's see. Getting back to all right. I don't like the Jamie Smile song. I think it's gonna. I don't. They expected that to be the one that caught on. In reality, like apparently people really like the Forgiveness song. Either way, I don't really. Jamie Smiles does not seem like a good song to me. I don't know why they thought it would woo anybody. Subjectivity again, I guess, just not.
Well, again, Dragon, to go back to my point, I feel like a big issue with this movie is that girls are literally wooed by a drop of a hat in this movie, and that just kind of bothers me.
Something that bothers me is the kids in the town at various points in the movie, specifically the big church scene. They're all unified at a time against Chris Brander. It feels very mean spirited at times.
It is, yeah. I mean, speaking of which, I feel like he is kind of like it's got one of my coveted pageant tiki mixed tone issues going on with it's not quite as bad as some of the other ones we've talked about, but it's a very mean-spirited movie with a very nice core to it. You know what I mean? So I feel like for that it doesn't really meld together all that well.
Right. So let me tell you. Okay, well, I guess one big thing as we mentioned, Samantha James. That's a make. That depends on who you ask. Is she's. It depends like how into the gag you are. Like either you're into the gag of like how she's presenting herself, or you're not into it. But for me, the big thing with the Jamie thing is that Jamie's comes across not very bright, and she's kind of an unintentional tease. Now, again, it's not wrong. Again, she's not wrong about being expected to be in a relationship, but she did kind of lead Chris on for years without a clue, and just has that bad taste in men. But again, it's so bizarre because again, sometimes it's a true life thing. But by the same token, it feels hard to believe at times in the movie that she'd be that bad.
Right.
So that's the thing. The movies at war. There's authentic. I think on the whole, the movies. I think the biggest thing, the movie again, kind of in a tonal way, I guess, is that movies at war with authenticity versus because again they pull from a lot of real life stuff. But I feel that's one of the times when you do that and it gets in the way of the story. If you catch my meaning, where things like the body shake is a real thing. Like that's happened to them. Like they didn't know what they're doing. They're coming in for the kiss, and it went all haywire, and then they turned to like this weird body shake. And that's the thing. So again, I kind of appreciate that, but in other places, like, well, I mean, going for that, I don't know. It feels off. It makes her feel stupid. It feels like season one Big Bang Theory, but a little bit more grounded. Like,
Those are some fine words there, Dragon.
I don't know, but that's what I'm saying. Like, it feels like a more It feels like a more. It's coming from a realer place than that. Like, that feels manufactured. Like, Penny is the dumbest character you've ever seen in the first season. Where here it's like, okay, well, she's not wrong, but she's not putting two and two together. So something's off here, and that's to me is the frustrating thing years later watching it. But anyway, obviously that's all some nice things. Again, Ryan Reynolds is basically the Ryan Reynolds wit and the hallmarks of Ryan Reynolds. The childish dynamic he has with his brothers. Again, Ryan Reynolds is kind of a-okay for me.
I mean, let's face it, he's the reason to watch the movie, and he's much less of a selling point than, say, Kurt Russell is in the Christmas Chronicles, but he's still, he's still the reason to watch.
I think it's a solid cast. I think they got good people for the movie. They even got Stephen Root in a small role. He was the boss. He was KC, the boss. The fat suit and the makeup I thought were really good on Ryan Reynolds. We'll talk more about that momentarily, but I thought it looked good.
Sure.
Let's see. The Christmas decorations and the set pieces for a big scene later on. That's also pretty good. Tackling the topic of the friend zone, you don't really see that done a lot in Hollywood, or at least done as like.
No, and honestly, I do think it is a realistic portrayal for the most part. Again, I don't think the ending, the wrap up to it, is realistic, even if it happened in real life. But the actual friend zone struggle is a pretty realistic depiction for sure.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of well-directed chaos. Like, when things go wrong, I think it looks really good.
All right. I'll give you that much.
Let's see. All right. Again, there's a heart with the cynicism in a lot of places because basically, I think there's some good editing in there. Again, basically, I want to give points to again starting with Chris in a sympathetic place at the start of the movie. Basically, thanks to good editing of events, I think it helped infuse some heart into the cynicism.
Okay,
so it didn't turn up.
So
it didn't turn out like basically him as a scumbag from the start. So basically, I want to give points to the editing, kind of helping infuse likability into a character. So basically, that's the point, heart in the editing, I guess.
And you know what? To speak to the editing, Dragon, I'll give this movie some credit where it feels more like a cohesive narrative than something like Daddy's Home 2 does.
Yeah.
Like, if, given the choice, I'd easily rewatch Daddy's Home 2 over this. I feel like it's a more fun movie than this. But Daddy's Home 2 does essentially feel like a series of sketches, like kind of loosely tied together with a plot. This feels like a legit plot. Unfortunately, I don't think the set pieces in themselves are nearly as entertaining as most of what's in Daddy's Home 2. So it's kind of a mixed bag in that way.
All right. Okay, let's talk about some moments.
All right. So I guess I'll go first because I literally have the start of the movie. All right. So I thought that the prologue was well done. Honestly, I thought the prologue kind of set the movie up to be better than it ended up being, if I'm being brutally honest with you. Like the makeup job on Ryan Reynolds for the fat suit, like you said, was really good, really convincing. I love Ryan Reynolds' fat acting as well. I love kind of his lispy quality.
Oh my god.
Hey, hello, Samantha. I'm opening your gate, Samantha. Oh, look at your yearbook, Samantha. Oh, I'm sorry, not Samantha.
Jamie.
My bad. I'm sorry. Looking at my notes.
Wrong girl.
Reading the wrong name. I'm sorry.
No, that's fine. That's fine.
And I also just kind of like how this almost feels like it's meant to be a parody of 13 Reasons Why, like 10 years 10 years before 13 Reasons Why, because it's just like, it's kind of like a worst case scenario for a high school party. You know what I mean? It's just sort of like this is the kind of shit that Hannah Baker would put on her list. You know what I mean?
It is, but thankfully it doesn't go as dark as that would have. If it were 13 Reasons, it would have been much meaner. Again, would have been meaner, like 2010 stuff that's being done at that party.
God.
It was 95. The party set at 95, back when things were nice, rosy, and nostalgic.
Back when social media was just like a glimmer in Steve Jobs' eye. Simpler times.
A glimmer. Oh, that's funny. Okay.
I mean, I don't even think that's an accurate statement because I don't know how much influence Steve Jobs had over social media in general, but
Yeah, probably. I'm sorry when you say it like that. Yeah, I don't think he really would have had anything to say. Yeah, now you
that's
defeat.
what I'm saying.
Now you've ruined it. It's like the Charlie Brown tree of jokes, Tiki. Now you've put the red. Now you've killed it. You put the red bulb of logic, and you've killed it.
Oh God, Jesus. Okay. Oh yeah, I mean, I don't have that much more to say about the party scene. It's a fun kind of worst case scenario, nightmarish high school moment. You get Chris's motivation. You get how he can be so turned off by this girl after this that he doesn't speak to her for 10 years. It sets everything up well. And as I said, the fat suit makeup is relatively impressive.
Word of advice, folks: never put on it. If someone puts a sweater on you that says "Friends Forever" with your faces on the kittens, before you run out in a hurry, take the sweater off. It's just too bad. All right.
All right. Okay, the hockey game I thought was the most entertaining scene in the movie, Dragon. This was the scene this is like the only scene that made me laugh from beginning to end, I got to admit. First of all, I love the passive aggressive guy who's like really wanting them to play in the game, but then at every turn he's like, "No, you're doing it wrong. Ah, no side swipes, jackass." I don't know, I kind of like passive aggressive humor like that.
What's the one shot?
Honestly, Dragon, this is the moment in the movie. Like, I feel like the kids being jerks to Chris works way better in this moment than it does in the church, because in this scene, we're still kind of supposed to take Chris as a jerk. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, he does get humbled, but such a gross way that he gets humbled. Like, puck right to the face, man. That hurts.
Brutal about it, man. The freaking blood. I mean, this movie made me want to take some Vicodin, honestly. I'm just, oh, man, my teeth hurt just looking at that.
If it helps, if it'll help you, they use the red slushy, so don't just use the red slushy for it.
Of course, this is where Dusty first shows up, right?
Yeah, again, he enters when Chris is kind of at his painful lowest here, where he's in like one of the little, when you get hurt out on the slopes, they put you in that little body cast. Yeah, the one that's like a snowboard. Yeah.
Yeah, and of course, they pull a Simpsons joke on it. Okay, Simpsons totally did this. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, I know.
Where the Gertie goes backwards and Ryan Reynolds, already like very, very, very injured, goes flying and lands face first.
And and then he gets flipped over. That's when the red slushy comes out.
and then even in the ambulance, Dragon, the scene just doesn't let up. Ambulance when Jamie and Dusty are getting to know each other. Like,
he's so helpless in the scene because they put he's bandaged up and they put the oxy. Basically, Dusty throughout the scene. Again, we know he's malicious, but in that scene, you're like, hopefully, you're maybe thinking that maybe.
But what's great is that Ryan Reynolds can't even complain because Dusty's the one that's stitching him up. You know what I mean?
Yes, and the thing I love is that he basically places the big clipboard to write take her number down, like on his chest. And if you notice, I don't know if you noticed this. It's kind of funny. It's like on a rewatch. Like, oh my god, it's even funnier. Or the ambulance is moving around or something as he's like shifting around. Something falls and hits him right in the balls. Like, oh boys, just the guy cannot catch a break.
And then Ryan Reynolds is just like, oh, this can't be happening.
Yep.
So yeah, as you can tell, Dragon, I got way more enjoyment out of that scene comparatively than any other scene, honestly.
Well, we know Ryan Reynolds has a healing factor, so it's all fine at the end of the day. I mean, that's true, right?
I really enjoyed the kind of the third act sort of low of lows with Samantha kind of breaking down and crashing Jamie's Christmas party. I don't know. Mostly, Dragon. Honestly, I don't have much to say about this. I just love the delivery of Santa's little hoe.
God, First, she has this ridiculous line where, like, the priest, like the neighbor, I guess the town priest or something is there, and he's holding her back from attacking Jamie. He says, Get your hands off me, God boy.
That's what I'm saying, man. This is definitely I think this is Samantha's best scene in the movie because she's just like really really unhinged. It's kind of like a bottle rocket going off in this moment.
But I love the chaos. This is the chaos I was referring to earlier. This is really well directed, just kind of utter ruin that's happening to this decorated house because it's a really good the running gag between the brothers is he says Chris, little problem, and as he does, like he basically Ryan Reynolds he saves the old woman at the very last second before like the Christmas light. Basically Samantha has crashed her car into the place, and then she's driving out and she's hooked onto like the lights that link up to the house and everything. It's like a Griswold family house pretty much, and she's like taking it everywhere, like stops the old lady from being decapitated and everything's catching on fire, and it's just like it ends with that great button of like, huh, reindeer on fire. You don't see that every day. It's like it's great. Yeah. Okay, I guess my moments then, right?
Shoot.
Okay, let's see. On the whole, I love the brothers bickering and fighting because again, that's the main reason I checked out the movie. But if I had to pick one gag, I think it's the funniest. Samantha's knocked out, and Chris is going to give Jamie the gift, like the gift of the letter to bring them close together and everything. Anyway, so as he's about to leave, he basically wants his brother to detain her yet again, detain Samantha, make sure she doesn't get in the way, and says, "Okay, if she wakes up, tell her I want to meet Bono. You're gonna meet Bono. I want to come. No, you walking void. It's a lie." Yeah, I'm not. It's not meeting Bono like they're about to get into the whole thing again, like they've been doing for the whole movie. And before they do that, because it's Christmas Day, they kind of stop each other and they just, "I love you too," and they share Christmas cookies. It's like a little sweet little scene.
Right.
Oh, ain't that cute? All right, let's see. Beyond that, I love Chris explaining the friend zone. If you need like one scene to explain what the movie is, which this scene is, it's the name drop scene where basically Chris
it sets up the rules, if you will.
Yeah, so this is after we saw the trauma, and like basically like the scene directly after that, he's playing hockey with a buddy, and he's basically explaining like what the friends is. My favorite line of the whole movie, I think, is here, where he says, where he basically when you're in the friend zone, you become a complete non-sexual entity, like a brother or a lamp. I don't want to be a lamp. I love that lamp. It's so funny. And then it escalates to the bit where the girl, basically he proved this by kind of waving to a pretty girl on the ice who's with her just friend. And she comes in there and Ryan Reynolds, without missing a beat, classic Ryan Reynolds style here. He just says, she says, "Excuse me," so without missing a beat, still laughing. "You, excuse you. I saw you flirting with me out there. How could you do that to your boyfriend?" Just, "Oh, he's not my boyfriend. We're just friends." Name drop. It basically it's like a name drop.
That's the title.
That's it, exactly. It's like a name drop, mic drop moment. It's sometimes when they do that, it's like here's the thing. It's like years ago, it's just it's in the motions. Okay, they're explaining what the friends is. But years later, it's like, oh, but yep, that's them doing the classic name drop. That's what they're doing. It's delightful. Let's see. Lastly, okay, I think the last. Oh, yeah, I like a lot of Ryan Reynolds deliveries, like when he says, when Dusty pops in, he says, yeah, interrupting their big heart-to-heart scene where he's explaining that Dusty's the bad guy and he's acting all charming and stuff. He says, "Hey, you want to do this?" No. He says, "Want to do this?" And of course, Ryan Reynolds says, "No!" He gets so high-pitched and tackles.
That was fun. That was funny. Yeah, I'll admit that. That kind of had me laughing.
It's utterly ridiculous and fun. But again, one other quick, just mainly it's a line. I love how terribly the Chris Brander character treats Samantha, who's she's dumb as a sack of rocks, of LA rocks. And we have this great bit where they meet each other again. She's through the glass and she's been recording a song terribly. And everyone the Samantha who's left because they can't stand her. So he's back to him, and he has to, because of his boss, he has to get her into sign her for a contract. So she's knocking on the glass like, Chris, and she's not picking on the fact that he can't hear her, and he's basically motioning, "Can't hear you, I can't hear you." He's like, basically she gets like an idea and she leaves the room all frantically and just like hopping. Like it's Anna Faris doing a great job, by the way. And then we just have the moment that kills me is when he just says, "Light bulb," basically narrating what she's doing. Is up light bulb. Basically, she's so stupid. She's just now got that whole scene is just kind of he in that scene is really funny.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
That's like, all the real Ryan Reynolds isms, but I mean, like, those scenes are kind of really funny to me. So that's about it for moments for me.
All right. And now we ask the daring question, Dragon, to end out our show. How's it hold up?
Of course it holds. No, seriously, let's love it.
It's not great. It's Dragon. I'm going to be brutally honest with you. I can't ever see myself watching this movie again.
I buy that.
I mean, this is one that's just going back on the shelf, and I'll probably forget about it in less than a month. It's not to say there's not good things in it. There is some funny sequences. Ryan Reynolds is charming. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'll revisit clips of this when I prepare for Deadpool 3 or something like that. Who knows? But I can't see myself sitting down and watching this whole thing again, man. It's, the way I judged the how's it hold up category is, am I going to see myself putting this on my, my roster of Christmas movies I watch every year? And this is about as far from that lexicon as it can get, honestly. I mean, it's not terrible, but honestly, Dragon, if it were something like I'm not in any way saying it's as bad as something like Rhapsody Street Kids, but I could see myself watching Rhapsody Street Kids every year just out of the sheer curiosity and horror of it all. I've made the stance before, Dragon. Like, I'll always prefer a bad movie, like an actively bad movie, to a mediocre movie. Always. Like, no question about it. I'll always prefer the bad movie to a mediocre movie. Because mediocre movies to me are just kind of there. They just kind of exist in this void. And that's what Just Friends is to me. It's perfectly harmless. It's not going to upset anyone. Although the ending does piss me off and frankly kind of upset me a little bit. But, it just kind of exists, man. I mean, no harm, no foul. Like I said, I'm going to forget about this movie before the year's out.
Right. For me, so as a movie, I feel it's a unique movie in some regard, in that it's like it's like that old familiar VH1 gem, and that it's kind of like it kind of exists and you kind of have to accept. It's like a high school yearbook of a movie. It's like you have to accept it. Now, I'm not saying I love it or anything. I'm just saying that, like I would go back to that for nostalgic purposes, or again for the Ryan Reynolds. I would come back to it for.
I could totally see you. It's an entirely different story for the nostalgia, for sure.
And I want to highlight this back, because again, this because we're at the last segment of it all here, and again, this would not factor in any of anything looking at the movie itself. But I want to tell you, it's got a good DVD to it. It's got really informative kind of features you don't really see every day. It's got a real. I like the people that made the movie in a way. Again, I know in a way that I don't like. I wouldn't follow these guys, and they're not really big name filmmakers or anything. But I kind of like it's friends who made a movie in a collaborative and for a kind of a collaborative, fun project between friends, and it feels homespun filmmaking. I really respect that about it. I know that doesn't make it great, but I really respect that, and respect kind of these guys who's come together and are going to it gets a really hard shoot making this movie with that cold weather. It's like I kind of respect it to a degree. I fully accept that it's not for everyone, but again, the Ryan Reynolds shining in the performance as a performer for the movie, kind of the beginnings, like, oh, look at him grow as a Ryan Reynolds. Look at him. It's got a witty idea that doesn't hold up as well today. Yeah, I haven't really I don't go back to this one as often. Usually I watch clips of it, but I haven't had to go back to it, in its full kind of view for a long while. And doing that, I found a lot of faults that, definitely stick out more than I remember them doing. It in regards to the Christmas of it all, it uses Christmas as an inciting incident and a set piece, and gloriously in places where it kind of turns into this spectacular kind of low of lows, with everything going to crap before Chris Brander's eyes. It's kind of, again, it basically, imagine a liar reveal done awesomely and over the top, because that's the thing. It's kind of a liar reveal done so over the top.
It is, yeah.
I think it's kind of using it's using the holidays. Like, the holidays are all around the movie, but you don't quite need to set it around Christmas. So you need to justify that snow and everything. You need to do something with it. Like, how can you let's say around Christmas, get all the snow and the decorations and everything. Let's go for it. So as a movie, it doesn't hold up. As a Christmas movie, definitely not something you want to add to a roster. But again, it's got kind of that kind of nostalgic charm that's Yeah, not warranting a fast view, but for if you're a Ryan Reynolds completionist, definitely check it out.
All right.
All right. Well, kids, time to dash away, dash away, dash away all. But as we wave goodbye, don't you cry. We'll be back again next time.
With even more seasonal shenanigans.
La 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 la
La, la, la,
la
la.
la. The only thumb we're going to use is Fred Savage. Fred Savage.